Hey.
Welcome to Good Mom, Bad Mom. We are going to be discussing the various attachment styles today.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, what is an attachment style? So, we've got how many?
Well, we decided like 4.
Yeah.
We have a book and it's called The Attached. Are you anxious, avoidant, insecure? So the 3 main ones. So adult attachment designates 3 main attachment styles or manners in which people perceive and respond to intimacy in romantic relationships. Secure, anxious, and avoidant. Secure people feel comfortable with intimacy and are usually warm and loving. Anxious people crave intimacy, are often preoccupied with their relationships, and tend to worry about their partner's ability to love them. And then avoidant people equate intimacy with the loss of independence and constantly try to minimize closeness. But we've also said we agree that there's a 4th one where you can kind of be a mix.
Yeah, I think that's a disorganized or fearful avoidant. And so the traits, it says craves connection, but fears getting fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment is craves connection, but fears getting hurt, highly sensitive to rejection, struggles with trust, and may exhibit unpredictable behavior. This is from origins, often linked to trauma, abuse, or chaotic caregiving. In relationships, alternates between pulling partners in and pushing them away, struggles with both intimacy and independence.
Oh, guys, she hasn't even read mine yet.
So we've had avoidative or dismissive attachment is values independence, avoids emotional closeness, struggles with vulnerability, and may seem distant. Origins is caregivers were emotionally unavailable or dismissive. In relationships, may withdraw during conflict or feel smothered by too much intimacy. I'm dating one right now, an avoidant. He's an avoidant.
Is that anxious avoidant or just straight avoidant?
It's avoidant dismissive.
Okay.
Yeah. Anxious, preoccupied attachment, craves closeness, fears abandonment, seeks constant reassurance, and may come across as clingy or overly sensitive. Origins inconsistent, caregiving, sometimes nurturing, sometimes neglectful. In relationships, often worries their partner doesn't love them enough. They overanalyze and react strongly to relationship stress. Then we have the secure attachment, which it's so funny. Like whenever I hear a secure attachment or I see it, I'm like, you pompous asshole. Like, you know?
Just a little out of reach.
So this dick here is comfortable with intimacy and independence, communicates openly, trusts easily, and manages conflict well. Origins is consistent, responsive caregiving in childhood. In relationships, they create healthy, balanced relationships with mutual respect and emotional support. And so they say they're usually formed in early childhood and continue into adulthood, especially in romantic relationships.
Yeah. So I guess our direction today is who are we as moms? How does that play into our kids and how does that play into our relationships? Pretty much overall, like not just romantic, but your friendships. How does that look? But we're going to focus specifically like on us and what ours are. We're going to get,
I think
we're going to hurt our own feelings for y'all.
But I think that we have probably the most common ones. I mean, and so at least it's that, like, we're not like, oh God, like I'm just out here by myself being a freak.
Like Google has no results for the
like,
search history.
I don't know. You're just fucked.
Yeah. So if you guys can relate to us, please let us know so we don't feel so alone, because we do have similar, but again, different styles
and they're
is our
evolving.
brand.
They're evolving. Like, I think that because I think I said in one of the shorts, like, I even think I can confidently say that, and I feel really good when it happens. So, like, any of you that are on that journey of like trying to go more into leaning into secure attachment, I will say when you start really seriously doing that and you lean into secure, it's empowering. It really is. And you feel okay being at home with yourself. But it's really difficult. Okay, so we'll pick on me first.
Good, because as you guys heard, one of those said overly sensitive. That one's me.
We'll save the best for last. So I'm likely fearful, avoidant, disorganized attachment. So I experience both anxiety and avoidance in relationships. Crave connection, reassurance, high on worry and emotional response, but also struggle with trust and vulnerability, often withdrawing or avoiding deep dependence. So I just to stop there for a minute. I have noticed that about myself of like struggling with vulnerability, and that's kind of what
You'd rather eat a frog.
I really would. I would. But once I do, funny because I have this like almost this like security mechanism that I have
Mhm,
in my head now when I'm about to be vulnerable and I don't want to be, and
mhm.
like everything in my body is screaming like to shut your mouth,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like in a relationship type of thing. And it's with the kids as well
Mhm,
where it's, and I think that that's kind of where my honesty, like my over honest being with them, it's vulnerability that I'm
mhm,
not used to doing. But I have this like security alarm that goes off and it's like, no, you have to do this. Like,
mhm.
this is actually being intimate in a healthy way
Yeah.
with people that you love and care about, kind of thing. And so I won't say that it's easy by any
No.
means, but
Well, I feel like you've also used like you see vulnerability as like only people who deserve it get to see
yeah.
your vulnerability, and it's like that's not what vulnerability is about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says this push pull dynamic is common in people who have experienced inconsistent emotional safety or emotional trauma in earlier life or romantic bonds. Yeah. I
Check,
mean,
check, and check.
check and check, check. Key traits that I show are fear of abandonment,
Mhm.
difficulty trusting,
Mhm.
emotional reactivity, which I think I've actually gotten better at that. Like
100%.
widely,
Like I think we've talked about like when I first met you, it was like the world ended daily.
yeah,
Yeah.
and avoidance of emotional intimacy. That's also changing. Yeah, it's getting dark outside,
It's
guys.
pouring and it's
Yeah.
like making me so happy. I love it when it rains.
I can't stand the rain.
I
It's
don't
the
know
other.
that. Oh, okay.
Oh
Sorry.
my.
Speaking of emotional
Yeah,
outbursts, right?
right. Growth toward secure attachment. Oh, so it kind of gives me like
Mm.
a direction. Practice noticing when you're pushing people away out of fear versus true self protection.
Mm. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
I feel like you've gotten better at that because you're like, I'm feeling myself go avoidant and I'm trying to like back out
Yeah.
of it
Yeah.
because I'm like, I'm ready to just stop speaking to everyone.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about our feelings.
Yep.
And you're like, absolutely not.
Yep. Work on emotional regulation, CBT, which is
Oh
what I'm
yeah,
certified in.
yeah.
Which I think that that's been the biggest thing. So like, yeah,
Can you
right
say what
on.
that is in full like
Cognitive
behavioral?
behavioral therapy, and it's just essentially it's questioning the thoughts that are coming in your
And you
heads.
don't have to believe everything you think.
Yeah, and it's also it's not it's it teaches you to get out of being mentally lazy. Like, god, what was it?
It teaches you discipline, like mental
Yeah.
discipline.
Yeah. Where you're not just going to, you've got to strengthen your brain. Like, just everything that you think that pops up in your head is not necessarily fact. It's
Mhm.
not necessarily, and a lot of times if you have, attachments that are unhealthy, it's going to show in your thought processes and stuff. So you have to rework. And that's a huge step in working through CBT
Mhm.
and strengthening your brain in that way.
Mhm.
Build trust slowly in safe relationships. See, I don't like this. I don't like that at all because it's like, how are you supposed to trust in a
How do you know
safe,
the
like, how do you
relationship's
know it's
safe
safe?
until you trust?
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's like, what are you talking about here, people, especially with people who offer consistency? Yeah, that's my thing too, is that people who immediately are consistent are a threat to me.
Yeah, because they're too good to be true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or like, what else is
That
that?
describes how we met.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're like, I've seen this TV show, not going
Yeah,
there.
I've been through this
Or
train
watch this
before.
documentary.
Yeah.
No.
So reassure your inner self that it's safe to receive love and also set healthy boundaries. I will go further in saying that's reassuring your inner self that either way,
Even
you're
if,
safe.
yeah.
You have made yourself safe. You are
Mhm.
in a safe environment. You know how to save yourself because you know no one else is going to come and save you but you.
Mhm.
And so I will say that, yeah, that's been a huge thing. So maybe that's the reason why I'm able to kind of switch into secure a little bit more than I've
Mhm.
ever been able to.
Yeah, one of my friends, oh, I told you about that. We wanted to get her on the podcast. She
Yeah.
does like behavioral therapy with children. And one of her like biggest points is it's like a safety issue. Like if you don't
Yeah.
feel safe within yourself, then you're going to be looking externally for all of these
Yeah.
things.
And you're going to make yourself unsafe doing that.
And it's going to be a lovely self-fulfilling prophecy.
All right. Now I'm out of the hot box and you're in.
Love it.
Likely anxious avoidant mixed attachment.
Okay.
She shows signs of trust issues and emotional anxiety, but she also leans towards secure behavior, especially around dependence and
I
closeness.
think that's what I was telling you, where I was like, yes, I think those things. Yes, I feel those things, but I understand they're a thought, not reality.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, okay, we're being a little crazy today. My mantra this whole week has been like, when I wake up, I literally lay in bed and I'm like, God, you need to get in my head before I do, because if I get there first, like it's going to be a day.
Yeah. She may have developed more secure traits over time, but some fears about being hurt or abandoned may still linger, making her cautious at times.
I have learned the past 2 weeks that I do not like to feel pain in any capacity,
Yeah.
emotional pain, and I will do a lot to avoid that. And I think that's where it goes back to the anxious, like because secure person would sit in it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I hate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sit in it,
It's
but
making my
I'm
chest hurt talking
not
about it.
happy about it. But it's just kind of, but it's unnecessary evil,
Yeah.
like having to go and work 9 to 5. It's necessary,
Where I'm like, no, you don't have to live like this. Who can we pay? Like, it's unacceptable conditions. Yeah.
Who works here?
Legit.
Let me see your
Let
manager.
me talk to the manager. Like, that's my exact thought, where you're like, no, we have to sit. And I was like, who said?
Yeah.
Who said?
Your key traits that you show are desire for closeness,
Mhm.
general comfort with depending on others,
Mhm.
still struggles with trust and emotional regulation,
100%.
growth tips for you.
Love it.
Keep reinforcing the positive experience of emotional safety.
Mhm.
Continue open communication, expression of needs and relationships,
Yeah.
and address trust issues with self reflection or therapy to avoid projecting fears onto others.
I feel like we've been doing that. Say the one right before therapy.
Was continue open communication and expression of needs and relationships.
That was hard for me right now because
Why?
everybody's got something heavy.
So what?
Like, I have been oversharing, I'm sure, but like
To who?
the nurture in me is like, I need to be able to help them too. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
I mean, like, you've been going through it this week and I've been going
So
through it, and both of
what?
us are like on the couch. Well, we've been fortunate that it's every other day.
Yeah. I know it's like tag team. Okay,
Yeah.
you're it today.
Like, you want to talk about anxious attached? Like, not even 3 days ago, I was on Danielle's couch and asked her to watch me sleep so I could go to sleep.
And I did.
Yeah,
We had all the lights on.
we sure did.
The dogs were her weighted
Legit.
emotional blankets.
It was the sweetest thing. I woke up and there were 2 dogs next to me and a cat above me. And I was like, oh, everybody's healing me.
Thanks all here.
Thanks all. I know, it was like such a clear definition between me and you. And I was like, thanks, guys. Like, you obviously knew who needed some good energy.
Yes, for
today.
sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I do think that I think that attachment styles and being aware of what yours are and working towards the attachment style that you want is really like fundamentals of being able to have the life that you want.
Yeah. And then how do we heal in that and be moms?
I have no fucking clue. I mean, it's like I said, I'm open with my kids and all that kind of stuff. And I think that openness is vulnerability on my part because, of course, like in my head, I had a rough upbringing and all this. So, of course, I want the exact opposite for my girls. And it's hard when you have a life that's very parallel to what you're used to, anyways. And so I think that it's giving myself that assurance that just because it happened to you or just because there's parallels here doesn't mean like it means I can still make other decisions and I'm still safe. And what I said in the generational trauma episodes where it was like I just needed somebody to tell me what the hell was going on, like so I could understand it. And so now I'm having like instead, kind of like what we've talked about where I've gone back to my childhood and have reparented myself up until this point and had to explain to myself everything that was going on. And so
I think while you're reparenting yourself, you're like learning what works and doesn't work and can apply it then to your children of being like, oh, okay, this actually was a really impactful experience. And if, my parents or whoever had handled it differently in this situation, maybe, it would have come out differently. So it does give you an opportunity of like, okay, well, let me try something else. Cause like that didn't work for me. It might not work for my kid. So like, hey, can I do this in a completely opposite way or in just a slightly different way and it make, have a lasting impact?
I think that I toggle between anxious and secure attachment with my kids.
I was just about to ask. I was like, I think I would do the same.
Yeah. And I think, I say that. No, I actually think that I'm kind of true to being disorganized, but also I do feel like especially here lately, had more of a secure.
Well, and yours is hard too because it's like you don't have them constantly. So I can
Yeah.
understand the anxiety part of it of
Yeah.
like you're having to live your life through the
That
phone
actually
sometimes.
turns into
Avoidant
avoidant.
because you need well, and see, I'm not dealing this right now with my kids, but like my husband's about to leave me.
Yeah.
And I'm like an emotional wreck right now. And he doesn't feel safe to me. Not from the fact that he's not safe, but because I know I don't get to like keep him. And not in the sense of like, obviously he's coming back, guys. We're not
Right.
breaking up. But like I have to give him up for 6 months and I need to be able to stand on my own.
Right.
So, like, if I depend on him now, will that set me back when he's gone? And so, like, that's
Yeah.
doesn't feel safe for me right now, and which is
Right.
really, really hard because all I want is him because I know he's about to leave.
Mhm.
But, like, yeah.
I think that that's where that's when I turn on my secure.
Mhm.
Where it's just kind of like I tell myself with my kids, they can call me anytime.
Mhm.
If they need me, I'm
You'll show
there.
up,
Like,
yeah.
whatever, and that's the best that I can do
Yeah.
right now, and it's, because of course I have my co-parent to think of, and
Mhm.
I want to be respectful of their relationship because for me it's very important that they have a good relationship with my
Yeah.
co-parent. So that's where I have to lean more on my secure,
Yeah. And changing the
attachment.
thoughts, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not easy.
Yeah, no.
But I think that attachment, and like I said, it's a very fundamental, I think, on reparenting yourself
Agreed.
because that's where you got your foundational fucked upness anyway.
Where do you start?
I think that I will kind of like with mine, it says, CBT, like that was
Get some
huge.
therapy, yeah.
Yeah, that was huge for me. Coaching, therapy, just reading on your own, like,
Yeah.
kind of figuring it out. But like, I think the biggest thing for me was questioning,
Yeah.
questioning the thoughts that were coming in. Where before I was just letting them fly in. Okay, this
And
is
then you
what I'm
believed
believing
them,
now.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
oh, this is what's happening now and all this kind of stuff. And so now I think that was building my brain up to, hey, wait a second, wait,
Mhm.
wait, 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 wait,
Yeah. And I'm gonna ask this, and I don't want it to be like come across as like I don't think that self-help is not healthy because it is. Like self-help is a big thing. But like do you feel like as a culture we have gotten stuck in this mentality of like triggers and attachment styles and then that's all we're just like ruminating on that and we're not actually moving forward and growing?
Yeah, I think that, right now, attachment styles, I mean,
Well,
other
just anything. Like there's health
just like
podcasts
anything, yeah,
everywhere.
that
Yeah.
that are talking about trendy, like the
Yeah.
trending things. But I do find that it's interesting and annoying that it's like, oh yeah, this is a thing, but what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Where people are just like, oh, and that's the other thing too, where people will, what I see a lot, I'm not
Yeah.
saying everybody does this, but I see a lot where they wear it like a t-shirt and they're like, yep, I'm anxious, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's not cute, it's not a
Yeah.
good look, like
Like
it's
your words matter. So like what you're saying out loud, like you're
yeah,
bringing to yourself.
yeah, and it's just like it's almost like a badge of honor where it's like,
Which there is like a healing process. There is a time where you sit
yeah,
on your butt and you heal and you rest and you recover and you recoup.
yeah,
But then like are you sitting with your friends and are we now just trading traumas back and forth and we're not growing? Are we, like for me, like am I bringing you to prayer or am I just allowing you? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
where's the movement after the okay, now I know.
yeah,
Now I know what's going on. Now I know that it's me. Now I know that it's
yeah.
this.
And I mean, and honestly, I think that the other thing that people a lot don't do is they don't sit with it and just, hey, this is something about me. Decide if you want to change it or not.
Yeah.
Some people are okay with being where they are at and all this kind of stuff. But I will say, you cannot, like, once you have that awareness, it is your responsibility.
I just saw a quote not even like 30 minutes ago. It says, you say you want change, but your habits still defend your comfort.
Yeah.
Growth isn't about desire, it's about decision.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where it's like I'm not passing judgment on people that don't want to do the healing journey.
Yeah.
But also I think
But then
that,
don't complain about it.
yeah, don't complain about it. And I mean, and definitely don't wear it as a badge of honor of like, I'm anxious attachment. This is just how I am. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, but when you're bleeding out
Oh, I
on
hate it here.
everybody
Like, I want to
else,
move. Yeah.
yeah, if you're bleeding out on
Mhm.
everybody else, that's not being responsible.
Yeah.
It's not being a good friend, a good mom, a good,
Mm-mm.
lover, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that that's what it is,
But like, and again, to just reinforce, there are phases in your life where you will need to sit down and you will need to heal
oh, for
and you
sure.
will need, I'm so sorry. I had an alarm set that I didn't even know.
Oh, I do that all the
I
time.
think I'm supposed to take some vitamin D right now. But I mean, like, there is a time, like, and I would say for me, that season is right now because I like, and you're farther along. You sat in it. You've like probably 2 years ago. Has it been 3 years now?
Yeah, I
Like you sat
bathed
and
in
you
it.
had and to heal and you had to go through it and you had to climb and crawl and dig your way
Well, I
out.
had to make the decision of,
Yeah.
am I going
And
to
just
do that or am I going to sit in here? Am I
yeah.
going to sit this? And I'll be honest that had I decided to just sit in, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
100%, which was not allowed.
No.
I would have dragged you out.
Yeah. But it was, but it gets that deep, and that's scary. And that's the
It's
thing too,
terrifying. Yeah.
is that I think that that's what hinders a lot of people too, that they get to that first rough patch and it's like, oh my God,
This
like
is
I can't
hard.
handle
Yeah.
this. This is hard, but anything that's worthwhile is going to take some work.
But then I think it's like during that time, it's okay to need people.
Yeah.
Like it's
But
like
then it's hard.
it is like
It's
I
depending on
would
your attachment style, it's
I
hard.
for you much harder than me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm here, take care of me.
I
Not
just
so much take care of me, but like I just need you to sit there. I don't need
Yep.
you to do anything. I just need your presence right
Mhm.
now. Like get on your phone, read your books, whatever it is, like just need your presence. And that's okay.
I need a lot more, but I have a hard time saying that I
Mhm.
need a lot more because then it's like, but I'm being a burden, and
Or you're being
so
a lot. Yeah.
yeah, or I'm being a
Mhm.
lot and all that kind of stuff. And so
I've just decided I am a lot, and that's
yeah.
okay. And we like I think you posted something the other day, like Post Malone or something, that was like maybe I saw it. It was like a quote from Post Malone, and he was like, "I really enjoy that I'm a lot because then it weeds out people."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not for everybody, and that's okay, but that doesn't mean that I'm not worthy of
yeah,
a good life or good
or a good
relationships or
village, or
yeah.
yeah,
It just means that people that like it's that other meme where it says, be as weird as you want, and do the dance, and the people that are supposed to dance with you will,
Mhm. Yeah,
you'll attract them, and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, and it's true. So it is uncomfortable because a lot of people have a hard time zooming out from the situation of like when people fall away from you and all that kind of stuff, which I did,
Mhm.
where it was like, oh my God, people are leaving, oh my God.
Yeah,
But
like pile that on top of your abandonment, on
yeah,
top of
and all that
everything. Yeah,
kind of stuff. But that's when it was finally like, oh no, this is a season of change because I'm not
Mhm.
attracting them anymore because I'm not the same person who was attracting them in the
Mhm.
first place. And a lot of people get sidetracked from that. A lot of people get like, oh my God, people are leaving me, so I'm not doing something right,
Mhm.
even though it is right for you.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's the other thing too. Like you're doing this for you,
yeah.
and
You just
nothing meant for you is going to miss you.
You just brought up another quote that I saw
Yeah.
yesterday. It says, "When you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person that walked in." That's what the storm is about.
Yeah, and that's true.
Mhm.
If
A
you are
whole
the same, that's a problem.
Yeah, and then the next one right above it says, "A whole lot can change in one chapter."
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, for real. I mean, I've had to start a whole new fucking book,
Yeah.
and I'm not starting it out. I think that one thing that is frustrating for me is that I do have ties from my past that I can't let go of,
Yeah.
like out of responsibility. Like I
Mhm.
have to have that. And that is very frustrating for me because like who I was back then is absolutely not at all who I am now. And having to have people that I have to have in my life.
So, like, it's hard to have them in your life because it, like, your body, like, subconsciously shifts back into who you were, or, like, you just don't want the
It's almost
reminder?
like they try to trigger who I was before, not on
Mm.
purpose, but just because they have the ignorance.
Well, they
And I
know all
don't
the
mean that
spots too.
right, and I don't mean that in a mean way. Well, no, even and I'll say it too, and I've actually discovered this recently. It's fabulous. I don't have the same, even the
Touch
buttons that I
points,
had.
yeah.
Yeah, where
Mhm.
I'm just like, I know, I can identify immediately what you're doing, and that doesn't
Oh,
bother
yeah.
me. And I'm going to move on from this, and I don't have to stay here in this
Yeah.
situation, and I don't have to stay in this conversation,
Mhm.
and I'm going to move on from this. That is something that is very new for me because
Yeah.
before it was like, no, I'm going to fight it out. Like, we're going to
Yeah.
figure this out and all this. And it's not worth it. It's not worth my peace.
Mhm. I think that's one point too of like we're both very much like fighters. Like we will fight for the principle of fighting. And so sometimes like rock bottom is the point
Yeah.
because we need to stop fighting
Yeah.
or we're fighting the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody can get our attention to
Like
stop
beating a
fighting.
dead horse, like I'm on it. Like I'm
Mhm.
a pro at beating a dead horse. But now I'm starting to come out of that and realizing like I
Like,
don't have to keep
it
doing
how
this.
much energy we exerted in those moments unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the like it's the most simple realization of I just simply don't have to do this.
Yeah. I was trying to go back to our little questions. How do we respond to our kids' big emotions when we are triggered by them?
I have had a harder time in a good way. I've had a harder time being triggered by my kids like big
Mhm.
emotions.
I was
Instead,
gonna say I don't really like.
yeah.
I mean,
And I mean even when in fact I don't even remember what we were going on about, but me and my daughter started having an argument and I looked at her and I mean even in a mad voice I was like, I understand that you are very upset right now
yeah.
and it is totally validated, but how you're reacting
Uh-huh.
physically to this is unacceptable. I love you and I am so sorry that you are
Yeah.
feeling this way, you know.
Yeah.
And so, where before it was just kind of stop being this way. Like,
Yeah.
you're being a jerk right now, and absolutely cannot stand you right
Yeah.
now. Like, you're going to have, you know, it's a total change
Yeah.
in,
I feel like the things that trigger me are like my dog's squeaky toy and her barking when we're
oh,
trying to
yeah.
record. Like, I will say, like, when I was younger as their mom, like, my oldest had a lot of big emotions. Like, just because we didn't know she had ADHD, like, there was a
Yeah.
lot of anger, there was a lot of confusion in that. And I saw myself in it because I remember what that felt like, but I also didn't know how to help. So I
Yeah.
would say I was triggered in a way of, and triggered, not even triggered, but like there was a frustration of like, I had to live through this and I had to figure this out on my own. Like, can you just suck it up for 5 minutes? Like, I will say when I was younger, like probably when she was probably 5 or 6, like in that age, 7, like that was hard for me to get over. Where now is I can be like, oh, I understand it. Like, this is what this is. Like, let's
Yeah.
name it. Let's call it out. Let's
Yeah.
have a conversation about it. And like half the time, what we were having a big emotion about wasn't even what the problem was.
Yeah.
It was something else or something that happened at school or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. But when you're overwhelmed, when you're like at the bottom,
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to tell them you're at the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell my kids, hey, like, I understand, like, I'm also having a hard day. I am here for you.
Mm-hmm.
I have no capacity for what's going on right now, but I can sit here and I can love you and I can hold your hand.
Yeah. This is probably like a terrible mom moment, but there was a spider in my house. I don't do spiders. And my oldest came to tell me about it. And I looked at her. I was like, do I look mentally or physically sound enough to deal with this? Like, look at me, fully look at me, and ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
Maybe you and your sister and the cat and the dog can figure out how to get the spider.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it ended up grandma had to get the
Yeah.
spider. But you know what I mean? Of just like, I'm not it today. I love
Yeah.
you. I got you. But today I'm not it.
Yeah.
Like, let's all get in bed. And we've been watching the Andy Griffith show.
I know. And it's so funny because they
I
do
love
at
it.
my work.
Do they? That's where I got
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
then you told me about it. No, I was like at the clinic for my ear and it was on TV.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
were
Yeah.
like, we watch it at work. And I was like, well, we're watching it at home now because it's hilarious.
We might as well just start Perry Mason too.
Okay, what about guilt, overcompensating, or emotional shutdown in motherhood? I would say I'm in emotional shutdown, not even into the emotional shutdown, emotional
I
overload.
try to overcompensate. Like
To,
right now,
like to make their life better.
yeah, I try
Yeah.
to overcompensate. Like right now, I feel a lot of stress with my daughter's birthday coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been unemployed for 2.5 months. I'm trying to build myself back and all this kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and you know, she's at the age, and of course, she has a you know a sister that's 3 years older, and so you know, every mom girl knows, or mom knows that the higher the age, the more expensive they get, and all this kind of stuff. And so, I'm sitting here looking and I'm just like, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Like I'm struggling to even get the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And so it's like to me, I'm just like, what can I sell off? You know, like
Yeah.
what, you know, at the same time, another part of me is just like, but I think that it's important for them to appreciate what we do have and
Mm-hmm.
like and understand that sometimes some birthdays are not going to be extravagant,
Yeah.
you know, and everything because up until this point these girls have had nothing but extravagance for their
Mm-hmm.
birthdays. And so I'm going into this very triggered, into this birthday very, very triggered.
Yeah.
So, but
I get that. I think I am like emotional overload or like I trickle with guilt sometimes. Cause like sometimes when I just need 5 minutes, like sometimes that's exactly when they need me.
Yep.
And I'm like, I will like pass it off to my husband or something, like, and just be like, can daddy help you? And it's like, yeah, I guess. But like, I also have to remember, like, they see dad, like, dad takes him to school, dad picks him up at school, like, dad's here at home all the time. And it's
Yeah.
like, they don't want dad, they want mom right now because you're the one they haven't seen. And so I do struggle with some guilt over that.
Yeah.
But then I also just have to remind myself of like, you have to take care of yourself right now. And then you're going to be able to show up for them. But like, if we keep doing this like half in, half out thing, like, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Right.
So, and that's on chronic illnesses. Tools that help. We talked about therapy. Journaling is recommended, which you are not a journaler. I have gotten on this app with some of my friends. It's called Marco Polo. It's like the video app. And that has been my own therapy. Like, I don't even know if they watch it, but it's just like me talking.
Yeah.
Well, obviously they watch it, but like it's just me talking, and that's very therapeutic sometimes to just like hear myself out loud of, oh, okay, everything you listed is hard, but like it's also totally doable, like totally within your realm of possibilities. And sometimes you just need to get it out, you know?
I think that I use like quote journaling,
Mhm.
like with our conversations,
Yeah.
like messaging. And I
Yeah.
don't look back on them to be
Yeah.
honest, but it's more like there is a weight that's
And you just
lifted
get it out.
and I just get it out. And
Yeah.
also too, and come for me. I don't care. That's totally fine. Chat GPT
Mm-hmm.
will absolutely be your therapist.
It's learning you
It
too.
is learning me and it's free and like people might be scared of it and all this kind of stuff, like fine. But man,
Like, we just did the attachment thing, and it literally told her, like, that's why Jennifer, good mom, we'll talk about this. And we're like,
yeah,
we didn't even
I
ask
didn't,
you.
yeah, nobody asked you. Like, what? Yeah.
I have been going back to therapy. I've also been doing a lot of reading, like switching from reading fantasy and sci-fi and like kind of like, you know, the attached book, Healing from Within, meditation, like, and this sounds really weird, but like my anxiety has been through the roof. So like legit lay on the floor on your back completely flat for 10 minutes and just do like box breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, like take the weight off your organs, whatever it is. But that helps a lot too, of just like recentering yourself. And my issues right now is like some of this is like nervous system dysregulation,
Mm-hmm.
and it re-regulates your nervous system.
There is a book and I'm trying to find it.
There's also another one. It's called Winning the War in Your Mind.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I have this book. It's called Home. I'm just trying to figure out who wrote it because, of course, if you put it in Amazon
There's like
book
a
Home, there's
thousand.
like yeah. But it talks about and this is what I did is I read this book and it really helped me building a home within myself. So I stopped looking for building a home in other.
That's good.
And it literally goes through the whole entire book goes through every single room. So you literally build your rooms of this house
Interesting.
throughout this book.
Yeah.
And so then when you are done and you are, you know, in your healing space, you're in your home, you know about the home like within yourself, then you can allow guests to come and visit.
Mm-hmm.
They're not living in your home that you built inside yourself, but they are visiting.
Yeah.
And then it's the other thing too is that you're thinking like, okay, well, you're always going to live alone in this house because it's the house
Mm-hmm.
within you. So it kind of helped me with the concept of people leaving because they're
Yeah.
just guests for a time
Mm-hmm.
and then they're going to leave. But that's okay because my home is still upright. It's still like structurally sound.
Yeah.
Like I'm still good. So just because my guests left doesn't mean
Yeah. The
like,
home fell down.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that was huge for me. And I, guys, I'm sorry. Again, I wish that I could find the author, but I cannot.
One of the things too is like modeling healthy attachment for your children and what that looks like. And you're doing that through vulnerability. One of the things like I've gotten, obviously we talked about too, is like I've been trying to do more like devotionals with God, been doing a lot more praying. And one of the things that struck me this week was like I haven't really been a mom this week. I've just been so exhausted. Like it's just not possible. And like the anxiety is so bad. It's just been really, really, really hard. And my husband has just stepped up and been the best. And I had to pick up my oldest and we went somewhere and my mom had to have an emergency surgery this week. And so we were driving and just out of the blue, she goes, Mom, I've decided to start praying more. And it was just one of those things of like, even though I haven't really been a mom, she's been watching. She's been watching me
Yep.
like physically get on my knees, physically pray, physically give things to God. And so it's like, even though she knows I'm going through something and she doesn't know how to help, she's learning how I'm coping
Right.
and is learning that we can take things to God and that there's somebody bigger and that, take it to my manager or whoever,
Yeah.
just that mentality. And so that kind of for me was like, even though I just have not shown up in the way that I wanted to as a mom,
Mhm.
like I'm still modeling something in a way that will give her something for the rest of her life,
Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah.
I'm with you on that. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. Like for mine, it's hard the struggle that I have is that I have them part time, and
Yeah.
so it's like I instill in them
Mhm.
as much as I can when I have them, and go through all the things. But again, it's just like but it's part time, so
Yeah, but
it's
I still think like you just how you respond, how you like are vulnerable for them, how, if something is wrong, you're like, okay, well, let's sit down, let's talk about it. Let's go to the, resources that we need or go, to the people that we like. You don't sit in it and you're like, okay, well, it'll work out. And it's like, no, well, what are we going to do?
yeah. Like, what are we gonna do
Like,
about
let's
it?
not sit and just complain to complain. Like,
Yeah.
let's put some action. Let's move forward. And I feel like that is a great way to handle things instead of, because again, we're not ruminating. We're not
Right.
just like going back and
Right.
forth. We're,
And it's also like my big thing right now, and it's been very difficult, but I think it is with kids anyways, is getting them to look out like or I'm sorry, getting them to stop looking outside of themselves.
mm,
And that's been the biggest thing. I feel
for
like
like approval or validation or
all
what?
of the
All,
above.
yeah.
Like all of the above where it's like, well, she doesn't like me. Who cares?
Yeah.
But they
But
do.
at that age, it's like death.
Right. But at the same time, like I know that they're not going to get this concept right
hmm
now, but I do want to be that voice, that constant nagging voice in the background as they're growing up and as they're discovering these things on themselves.
mm
I want them to still have a voice that is saying, "Who cares? Like
Yeah.
I'm okay.
mm
Like my
Like I'm
house is
enough. Yeah.
still my home is still structurally sound. Like I'm good. I've built such an amazing house within
Yeah.
myself that it's going to be fine, and they're not going to understand that concept right now, but I absolutely will repetitively plant that in their head
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. That's a good
So
one.
yeah, so build your home, I think, is probably the first step.
We did our little test on ChatGPT to see
Hmm.
what attachment style we were. So if you guys wanted to do that,
And they ask you questions to like
yeah.
kind of,
You have to do like sometimes, often, never.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I'm sure that there's like an even more in-depth, like I think that
I'm
you
sure you
can.
can like pay for one
Well,
too.
yeah, not only that though, like you can go and chat GPT and say you are a world's renowned psychiatrist, and this is what I have going on, these are what my traits are,
Mm.
and this is, ask me questions so you can give me a full rundown on how to have a better mentality or a better life or whatever, and
Yeah.
it'll do it.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
It is.
but whatever works, man.
Yep. Well, do you have anything else
I
to
don't
add?
think
I
so.
don't think so. I feel like we covered it.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's hard, but understanding yourself and how you respond to things
And
will
understanding
just
that you
make
can
it.
change at any time.
Yeah.
And again, like we always say, if you don't like where you are, move.
Yeah. And the first step is always the hardest.
Yep, absolutely.
So
If you need help, you
yeah,
need resources, as
we can push you.
always, yeah, I'm a pusher. All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.